The Packers are back on the field this week for Phase 3 of their offseason program, Mandatory Minicamp, and they had an outstanding turnout.
Perfect attendance. There's a couple guys that are excused for personal matters, but everybody else is here.
Those noted absent were Matt Orzik, Jonathan Garvin, and Tarvarius Moore. Noticeably back, though, was Jair Alexander and Romeo Doubs, our two starting corners, paired up with Keyshawn Nixon, who we see here as well. Eric Stokes is kind of that wild card as he recovers from his injury, and we see where will he fit into this starting rotation in the backfield. I personally expect that he's probably going to start on the PUP list, and we'll see, them take their time bringing him back because we do have a solid cornerback room. And Jair was just happy to be back on the field with his teammates.
It was just fun being back on the field, being back out with my teammates. That's all. I think for me, I know what works for me at this point. I'm on year 6, so 2 Pro Bowls, 2 All-Pros. I think I know what I got going on here.
The defensive secondary has been one of the strengths on the Packers' defense for the past few years. While there's some uncertainty at the safety position, in particular, having the cornerbacks that we have on the outside between Rasul Douglas, Jair Alexander, who can move around a bit himself, and then Eric Stokes when he comes back from his injury, we've got some quality depth there that can help make up for some of the inexperience or perhaps mishaps that'll happen in the safety position. And having these 2 veterans back for mandatory minicamp is going to give the offense some additional work and challenge them to improve that young receiving core and a young Jordan Love as he takes on his first year as a starter. In 7-on-7s, Jair was even challenged by Romeo Doubs and had this to say about his performance.
I just told him, keep doing what y'all doing. Doubs caught a touchdown on me today, and I gave him a hug almost, good stuff, man, because the year before he didn't catch anything, so.
As we move over to the offensive side of the ball, it's noteworthy that there weren't a lot of 11-on-11 drills today. Mostly it was 7-on-7, so not seeing the impact of pass rush on any of these throws from Jordan Love. But it did come out of his hand pretty well, it seemed. And in particular, the tight ends stood out a little bit in some of their plays, particularly Josiah Deguara, who made a number of nice plays, and whom we haven't seen a lot from during the OTAs in weeks prior. This play in particular is the one that caught everybody's attention on Twitter, where Josiah Deguara goes up and snaps this ball with one hand out of air. Some are thinking there's a bit of writing on the wall for Josiah's future with the Packers, given that they drafted 2 tight ends as early as they did. But I think there's still a role that he might fill within this offense. And particularly, early on, Jordan Love might rely on him pretty heavily, especially as these young guys continue to develop and, take on the fire hose of information that they have to absorb as tight ends, as rookies. Luke Musgrave, on the other hand, has continued to wow just with his athleticism alone, making smooth plays. And it almost kind of detracts from Tucker Kraft's performance just in the fact that, Luke Musgrave is such a freak athlete. That's not to say that Tucker Kraft isn't doing well. He's still making outstanding plays on the field as well. It just doesn't pop quite the same because he's not quite the athlete that Luke Musgrave is. And Tucker Kraft spoke on the nuance that goes into playing tight end in this offense.
The immense detail that you have to get into when you break a huddle, like seeing the man across from you, knowing that the margin of error from inside zone, outside zone is that much. It's the difference between this much from near point to number play side. So it's getting all the details down and getting off the ball on the count, before the count. That's a big thing.
And while there aren't many veterans in the receiver or tight end rooms, it's good to see that guys like Christian Watson are helping these young guys come along, teaching them some of the nuances of some of the route running here, it looks like. And this is just an example, kind of visualizing what Matt LaFleur was talking about and how Christian Watson has become a leader in that room, both verbally, but then through his performance on the field as well, doing the right things, play in and play out, and really setting the tone for the young guys within this offense. Christian made a number of plays in the 7-on-7 drills today as well, one of which was a deep bomb on the left sideline from Jordan Love that may have been in coverage against Jair Alexander. It wasn't 100% clear. And then also just showing his speed on a deep crosser that he was able to get some separation on as well. And then in this next clip, we see Jordan Love hitting Deuce Watts on a corner route as these young guys continue to fight for positions on the active roster or the practice squad. And here we had Bo Melton on the right side of the field as well. And then this route from Samori Toure was another one that got a lot of play on Twitter as he makes a nice adjustment, tracking the ball downfield, catching the ball over his shoulder as he goes to the ground, really showing his focus and his ability to track that ball through the air, making really a difficult catch over that shoulder as he has to look basically directly over top of his head for that ball. I still expect that Samori Toure is going to have a bit of a breakout this year as he competes with Jaden Reed for more of that playing time as wide receiver 3. And speaking of Jaden Reed, here Danny Etling connects with him on a slant route across the middle. And then Jaden Reed shows off that he's also a deep threat, catching this ball from Love deep on the right sideline. Making his return to the field also is Dontavion Wicks, who missed some time during OTAs in the last 2 weeks. It sounded like maybe he came back a little too soon and ended up having to cut his workout a bit short. Hopefully it's nothing and he'll be back in time for training camp. And then here out of the backfield we see Tyler Goodson on a bit of an out then in kind of route here, showing that he can also make some plays out of the backfield. I think the more and more camp goes on, I'm more convinced that he is a strong candidate to make this 53-man roster. And the way the coaching staff and his mentality is, it's hard not to root for him to do just that. And then on teams, we finally got to see Anders Carlson kick. And at first glance, it just looks a bit different coming off his foot. He seems like he's got an extremely powerful leg. Per Rob Domofsky, he ended up 5 for 6 on the day, hitting from 41, 47, 49, 51, and 54, with his lone miss coming on a 44-yarder where he pushed it wide right.
Yeah, I think he's done an outstanding job. I think just becoming more consistent, and he's got a lot of leg. And you guys, I don't know if you get an opportunity to see that, but he's got a big time leg, and I think it's just kind of harnessing that power and making sure it's very consistent. But I think he's shown improvement throughout the course of the offseason.
Packers will be back on the field tomorrow, and then Thursday they'll be doing a bit of a team building activity, which Matt LaFleur talks about here.
Yeah, and that's traditionally what we've done here, and it's a great opportunity to get all the guys together in a different realm outside of the football world and just do something fun together.
Make sure to check back tomorrow for more on Packers Minicamp Day 2.